If we were, if we're being honest. All right, let's see here. Let me just grab.
There we go.
The link. Let me copy the link.
Okay, wait, what order do we want to do each one?
I'm just gonna
Brad,
go straight
me,
down the list.
Mike?
Yeah.
Well, like for okay.
Yeah, for starting off, that sounds like a good plan. Let me post this in the feedback stream chat.
Real Mag Dino?
Mag Real Dino.
Yeah. And then I'll also post it in the announcements.
Well, I have you here, Real. Look at this. Look at this.
Damn, he's got food.
Yeah. I'm carrying on the bunting tradition.
What a legend. Let me pop out the chat. That way we can see things. Nice. What is good, gang members? We're a gang now.
Are we live?
Yeah, we're live. We're live, all right?
Shit.
We got to make fools of ourselves now. Just edit Nature, just edit your SoundCloud link, the description. Just put it in the description. Yeah, dude. Dino's spitting facts. All right, the first pin is Dino's flex. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's fun. I'm glad that everyone is here. I'm here with the gang members themselves, Dino and Real. And we're about to listen to some banging tunes and give some really fire feedback. So, without further ado, the first off is a Greywood with this banger, dude. Hell yeah. It's been a minute since I've heard Greywood because of the feedback streams not being the thing. I'm hyped. All right, gang.
Hit me with the
Sheesh. Jeez.
What the fuck?
All right, yo, that's a fire start. All right, let me just quickly pull up all the questions just to make sure that I know what your questions were. Should have probably done that ahead of time. All right. Is the 6-8 thing before the second drop too wonky? No, I think it works really well. I feel like it's like not standing out in a bad way. I think that the bridge is nice. It's full, but I think playing with that one like do pluck more, because I think it's like about the same fullness the whole way through. I think it's good, but basically the biggest thing I'm noticing across this song is more like compression. So like these parts, this like bridge for example, could sound fuller if you either compress, clip, you know, maximize, limit, whatever word you want to use there. But yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing that'll make these sections feel more full. Yeah, because then it drops into this. And it's quiet, but I think it could be like less quiet. But no, what was the third question? Boringly aggressive or too much of the same? Nah, dude. I feel like your drops and arrangement are on point. I don't know. What do you guys think? I feel like arrangement wise, he's nailing it.
Yeah, I think arrangement's solid. The sound design in drop one was like, I don't know, you could just repeat that for fucking 5 minutes and I wouldn't get mad about it. It's like really, really distorted, but it's still really crispy and really clean. I was hearing it in the first drop and I thought you might do it in the second drop and you did, but like you took the same bass and you like kind of pumped the higher harmonics in it, which like I wanted. That sounded really good, but maybe like ease off the distortion a little bit in the second one because the low end's clipping everything really hard and like the white noise layer is kind of cutting in and out, which I think is the desired effect, but I think it could also sound really cool if you just like toned it back a little bit and you let the higher harmonics kind of flex, because that should always sounds nice when you like started off really heavy and then you bring in some harmonic content in the end. The 6-8 thing I thought was sick. That works super well. And for the bridge, maybe there's like a horn stab that comes in. It's really far in the back though. You could kind of bring that up a little bit and maybe even like add more reverb to it. I could tell it was reverbed a little bit, but it's not like monotonous, but it is a little dry. You could like spice the bridge up a tiny bit. No, and I don't think it's boringly aggressive. It's just really mean, which is always nice. But yeah, Dino.
All right. So the 6-8 part, I couldn't feel it switching, and I couldn't feel it like it didn't throw me off or anything. So I think that works. That's good. Let's see. As far as the, hold on, what was the other question? Oh yeah. The bridge to monotonous. No, the only monotony that I kind of felt was in the beginning section. I'm actually kind of on a different page reel here. That pitch rising thing, I feel like you could have changed that up a little, because by the time you did it the third time, like it was okay, he's gonna do it a fourth time now, and it kind of felt samey in that part. As far as being aggressively the same thing, no, the second section was far and away different enough from the first section to where it was like, okay, this is sick. Like it felt fresh, it felt new, but it still felt connected. general feedback, I would say like maybe a little more aggressive side chain. I'd like to get a little more pump after that kick, like a little more of a cut going. But that's just taste. All in all, great track, bro.
Hell yeah. Flexing. Yeah, I think this was fire. This is a nice way to start off. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you. That was nice. Especially. Yeah, it's just nuts. The sound design is on point. Yeah, I think the biggest thing that would make this flex super hard is just a general mastering kind of loudening, like limiting or maximization. But yeah, this shit's fire. Like, the grit is real. All right.
So.
Oh, shit. All right, next up, we have Forkville Copy V2 from the Hokey Gang member.
That was large.
That was fucking insane. These are accurate.
I think I'll just speak for all of us and hop out of turn. Why are you still looking for feedback, Oki?
Dude, the mix is so good. I also like the way you kind of just smoothly transition from such a quiet, like, dynamic level to such a loud level, but then maintain like the dynamicness. It's cool. But yeah, so yeah, real flex.
Okay, so wait, I didn't look at the question, but something about the stereo imaging. One thing I noticed that I really like, and I've been trying to do more of, because I always just like make stuff super wide, and I make everything super wide, and then it doesn't really sound cool. there's a bunch of width in this, but you're going from like mono to wide moments. So there's that contrast, which is just like, it's fucking pristine. I've been hearing that in a ton of music and trying to do more of it myself. It's really tempting to just like unison detune everything though. The downbeat too wide. No, I don't think so. Again, no, I make everything a little bit too wide. So take that with a grain of salt. By the end of the track, do the basses start to get old? I don't think so. There wasn't a point where I was like, okay, you're doing the same thing. And the sound design is nice enough to where like you can hear it more and more. That's also something I've been working on a lot. I feel like as you get better, you start to make sounds that you're like, you can repeat over and over again because people want to hear them again and they sound good. And there was enough of a diversity of sounds in this to where none of them got boring. I really like it's like a gurgly one, and it would go really, really wide. Every time that one came back, that was super nice.
Yeah, I
do
agree.
The drums feel like they need more of a change on the B side. No, the drums are knocking. Your drums are always knocking. Come on. But yeah, that's all I got.
For real. No, dude, I think the best part about like you use the basses over, but then you slide in like little things. Like there's one sound. Yeah, like that. Like you like we didn't hear that anywhere else, but like you keep things interesting by like sprinkling in those little like vibes. So yeah, I think that your arrangement's on point, sound design's on point, mixing's on point.
Hiding them in there.
Like
So, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brad.
No, I do think that, in my opinion, the basses aren't too wide. But I have been noticing people like doing less sides in like the low, mids, lows, but I don't think it matters in this track. Like during those moments, it could be worth high passing the sides a little bit, just like a wee little bit. But yeah, other than that, it's fucking nuts. Yeah, what were you gonna say?
Right.
Dino?
So, something that I was craving on this, since I mean, at this point, really, we're just nitpicking on your sound because it's so polished and developed. Maybe a little more negative space between your main like resonant peaks on the sounds, just to give it like a little more crisp and a little more breathing room. You know, like just have your EQ separation just a little more defined, if that makes sense. I feel like there's a lot of room filling up a lot of frequencies, and sometimes you want that full body sound, but like especially for that gurgly sound that Real was mentioning, like I feel like that should really shine and be the start of the show, and maybe get a little more like encompassing silence around it. The drums never got boring. They were driving and crisp. As far as the stereo image being too huge, that can be a vibe. Like I mean, I'm a fan of your sound. It's really sick. Just keep pushing, man, and don't let the imposter syndrome get the best of you. But that's all I got on that.
On God. Yeah, thank you, Hokie, for blessing our ear holes this fine eve. Hell yeah. I think we answered everything, right? Yeah, dude. I feel like stereo image is a wacky thing that I'm still figuring out too. But yeah, low end, I just know in certain situations, like it's important to focus on like specifically this note. I feel like that could be a little wacky on like bigger systems, that like gurgly one, but it does sound good in headphones, so it's like maybe it doesn't matter at all. Maybe you're flexing harder than the rest of us. All right, next up, Deep Space. flock's crazy.
That was crazy.
Yeah, the flock is nuts. Hell yeah. So does it ever sound like there's too much going on in the drops? I feel like the drops sound very good. Like I don't think there's too much going on. If we're talking about specific elements, there was one bass here. I think it's like a little bit loud. This one. You can like feel the difference. I don't know if that's like an artist or artistic choice, but I do think that it's like a little bit loud. But other than that, like, I feel like all the elements groove well together. The general flow is fire. Like, you nailed the breakdown slaps, outro slaps. Is anything overpowering? Oh, okay, sorry, that was like your... Yeah, I think that one like either soothe it a little bit or turn it down like a little bit, but yeah, I think that like it was the biggest sound that stuck out in like a whoa, this is like a little bit louder than everything else kind of way. But yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I didn't think there was too much going on. It's not like over layering that you're doing. The high end in the first drop though, it's a little like loose. Like it's not really sticking to the rest of the sounds. And somebody told me, and I kind of tested it. I wasn't sure like how true it is, but you want to have a tighter high end for bigger systems just because it's going to be like so fucking loud. And on headphones, you're not really hearing that like really high range very separate from everything. But when you have like a really loose high end, it kind of sounds separate. So maybe compress it a little bit or kind of play with it's doing like different. Maybe you're auto panning it different than the basses. Maybe just like tighten that a little bit with the basses. It did sound really good on headphones though. That's just kind of nitpicky. Nothing sound overpowering. All the sounds you're switching between are like within the same realm, so they sound good together. It's not like, whoa, why'd you just bring that one in? Like it's kind of called for every sound that comes in, which is nice. Yeah, really the only thing that stuck out to me was just kind of the high end being a little washy, and maybe like the drum pattern in drop one was a little, it just wasn't like standard, which isn't a bad thing. I just don't know how well that would translate into dancing, but like I'm not saying it wouldn't. I'm not really positive. But yeah, this is a nice track. It was big.
Yeah.
Oh, it's me. Sorry. Oh yeah, I'm gonna. Soothe would go hard on this track. I'm listening with in-ear monitors, and in some portions the high end was kind of grating. If you're talking about something being overpowering, the high end, maybe just shelf it a little or something. Try it out on different systems. Try it out on your cell phone, laptop speakers, all sorts of whatever your listening environment is. Like, you might not be getting the same amount of high end that we are. Other than that, the general flow of the track, as far as the actual drop flow goes, very nice, very good. Liked it a lot. The transition, the build and the tension in the transition for the second drop, though, I felt like was a little lackluster, and I could tell by your arrangement that you have the chops to like make it like really nice. So just take a moment and give yourself an extra like 8 or 16 bars to really build that tension and drop into it. Too much going on in the drop, again, and it might be fixed when you go through and you make a better build drop transition on that second drop. It feels like there's maybe a little bit too much going on for the first few beats of that second drop. And then kind of towards the end there as well. Hold on, I took some notes. Let me see. Yeah, the sound design is pretty crisp. I like that it felt like you put everything in the same space. And I really like when people process stuff together. Like in the beginning, the bass sound, I was like, oh man, it's this one again. And then I was like, oh man, it's this one again. Like, it got like pretty cool pretty fast, right? And you know, just great tracking, great sound design, great overall vision. You know, I liked it quite a bit as well.
Yeah, I think you push Lufs in a nice way on this too. Like other than like Dino made a great suggestion with the whole like soothe / like high shelf sort of thing. Like the highs are a little bit aggressive in some spots, but I think like the mids and low end are really good. So yeah, no, it's flexing. It makes the speakers vibrate. You know what I'm saying? So good shit. All right. Oh, it is the Concow. That was really cool.
Yeah, that was very nice.
Yeah, do any of the basses sound out of place? I feel like there's nothing out of place. There's some basses that feel a little bit phasey. Maybe it's just because it's a respace, but it's like it's the Saw E1 that I feel like periodically gets a little bit of like low mid phasiness, but I can't tell if it'd be a big deal or not because I'm on headphones right now, but I have a feeling it could be weird on like a bigger system. But the bass drop ones sound great. Plus, that could always be good if you're trying to go for that like back and forth sort of vibe anyway. Does the structure and arrangement make sense? Yes, dude. That was like you brought me in and I went on a journey. Like I feel like the synthy lead, I didn't personally notice that it was like lacking at the end. So it could be cool to do that, but I didn't feel like it was needed. I really liked the way it just kind of. But it could be nice to use that as like an outro, if you want to make the outro like even longer. but I feel like it's like a clean ending to the song. And I think the drums are really good. There's some sections where you could like have a little bit more of like a kind of like reverse hi-hat / crash cymbal kind of like sweep action, just to help the listener like feel there's like those big transitions into like no drums. But like right there, for example, where you have that kick drum hit, you could have like a little bit of a lead up that like kind of lets people know there's about to be a kick drum there. But yeah, like I feel like the main rhythms and stuff are on point. But yeah, what do you all think? What do you guys think?
I'll start with the bonus question. I don't think the snare sounds like shit. We were just talking about Aaron's in chat earlier though, and I was saying the Muramasa snare, the Muramasa together snare is like my favorite snare, and it's because you could do this like halfway through the song too if you wanted to. You just pitch the second snare down a little bit, so the snare hits regular and then it hits down. It could be fun if you're getting like sick of the way the snare sounds, because I tend to hate my drums by the time the track is over as well. But I didn't. They didn't stick out as like repetitive or anything. You kept the patterns interesting. The Foley layers were all really nice too. Something I've been doing with Foley, I think I saw this on the Cohen Sound Patreon. You can create it from like your bass sounds by putting a grain delay on it and then playing with the spray time on grain delay. And sometimes that's nice where like the Foley is like coming from the same sounds as the sounds you're accompanying it with. Not that you're sounded out of place, but if you wanted to just like even more mimic the textures that you have going, that's always fun. Structure makes sense. Yeah, arrangement was nice. And no, I don't think the basses sound out of place. That one with the crispy high that you brought in on a pitch bend, that was so nice. Very much called for. Yeah, I think that's all I got. This is a nice track. I would definitely listen to this.
Bro told a story.
On God.
Sitting around the campfire, and Concow opened them speakers, and he told a story. And I was out in the trees, and all of a sudden I was down by the river with all those water droplets in the Foley. That was wonderful. As far as you dropping that melodic line, no, it's okay. That part of the story's over. It's done. You moved on. It was nice. It was pleasant. I'm pretty sure I've heard this one before from you, but it was like a 45, 48 seconds clip. And I was like, this was fire then. It's fire now. There is one, I don't know if it's like a frequency buildup, but like towards the end, the high end with the snare, ironically, it was the snare. It just felt like a little grating. And I don't know if it was like ear fatigue or what it was, but it was only towards the end. That saw is funky. It's funky in a good way. I feel like if you probably just eliminate the low end and put a dedicated sub on it, then problem solved. But it could also be perfect. I mean, you have access to pretty good sound systems to try your shit out on. So, I mean, you know how it's gonna sound. You're not needing to advice on how to make it sound good on a big system. You're out there playing shows and shit. So that's cool. Great song, dude. Great track. I want to hear more than just 2 minutes and 50 seconds of it though, for sure. As far as addressing the other questions, what were the other questions? Let's see. Structure arrangement. Nope, it's perfect. The drums, rhythm pattern is great. The basses, aside from the saw coming in, it's like it's shocking at first. Then like you ease back into it over and over again, and it becomes just a part of the repeating pattern. It becomes part of the story, and it's nice. So yeah, great track, bro. Great track.
Hell yeah. Yeah, this song is fire. definitely like is alluring. Like you can't help but just get like sucked into the story, which I think is big goals. So yeah, good shit. That was awesome. Hell yeah. All right, next up, we got Schmo. It's a fun name.
I'ma hunt your fuck ass down. So we lean with it, pop with it. Myrtle Jones, boom, the top with it. Sit clean with the bottom kick it. I hopped out, saggy jeans and my rock glisten. But I spent about 8 grand, mommy on stage, doing the rain dance. She let it hit the floor, made it pop. Set my pedal to the floor, screaming, fuck the cops.
Well,
I didn't answer my question.
yeah, I guess yeah, real. What do you think? I feel like yeah, you should kick this one off.
Okay. Well, there's no questions, right? Which is okay this time, but in the future, ask some questions because I'm not very good at giving feedback. And even if I was, questions are helpful because I think Bunting was like, you gotta be your own critic first, or something like that. That's not what he said, but it was close. One thing I noticed was the sub, and honestly, I noticed this looking at mini meters. The sub is kind of just, it's like sustaining when it is there, and then it kind of just dips out seemingly randomly. I don't know, maybe you haven't added your independent sub yet if you're independent sub pilled, but it's always fun to like you can let the sub be its own character in a sense. It doesn't have to only be hitting when the bases are hitting, and it doesn't necessarily have to be hitting the same rhythms. And since your rhythms are really fast in this, you probably wouldn't want the sub hitting those rhythms. But yeah, maybe just play around with adding a sub in and like seeing what you want the sub to do rather than just kind of drive the bases. I think it can make this sound a little bit cleaner. Stereo spread was pretty nice. There wasn't a ton of like diversity in it, and now I'm all caught up on that idea. But because pretty much every bass sound you brought in was equal width, and that's okay because they were clean. But it might be fun to like kind of bring some a little bit closer to mono, so you can have those really wide moments. Rhythms were nice, drums were nice. Yeah, I guess just make it louder and play with a sub, and that's all I got. It was a good track though.
Yeah, I mean,
Can we
it's-
get
yeah, Dino. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts.
can we get 15 seconds from the middle, please?
I'ma hunt your fuck ass down.
Good, good. So I feel like I'm probably gonna harp about EQ separation a lot tonight. I feel like your elements could be a little more separated out. And this goes back to what Brad was saying about playing something on a big system, especially when you have those huge, like, I don't know, it's like phasey, filtery runs. If you don't really separate it on a system, like, you're going to hit that cross. And this is for realistically poorly managed sound systems that don't have the greatest of techs working on them, to where the crossover has like a 50 hertz gap in the middle somewhere. Like it's gonna drop out. Aside from that, next time put questions, dude. Like, I mean, we could sit here and listen to the track over and over again, but if we don't know what you're trying to work on, we can't really help you out. I hope you've worked on it more recently than a year ago. So yeah. That being said, I like the vibe of it. I like the flow. It was definitely trip hop. It feels like the progression of like what 2010, 2011, 2012 glitch hop was going towards. Like that kind of sound. If it didn't just die out, like this is just like a modern take on that. But yeah, decent track, man.
Yeah, I feel like the questions are super important. So yeah, if you guys do post tracks, just like put questions, because like it is so hard to know like what it is you want to improve. And like I think it was Hokie who was saying this earlier, but you can always improve on like any aspect of your music. So yeah, we can do, just as Dino said, we could listen to this over and over again, but we won't know what you're trying to focus on. But the biggest thing I think everyone should focus on is getting their low end right, because we all make bass music. And you have a sub here, but it feels kind of muddy. Like, so it's like there's low mid mixture with the other basses and it, or maybe not, but it's not prominent. Like you need to have like a big fundamental that is, I don't want to say eclipsing the rest of this low mid range, but you definitely want to make sure it stands out a lot more. And you can even see here on mini meters, there's periodic moments where your second harmonic actually goes above the lowest fundamental. And that doesn't sound very good usually. So that's like the biggest thing I can recommend to you to focus on, is just nail that sub area, because it will make your tracks slam. Yeah, other than that, drums could be louder, I think. Yeah, drums could be a bit louder. And then I'm a sucker for vocals in the sense that I like them to stand out more. So I know you're kind of going for a funky kind of vibe, but I think in this style of music, it helps to have the vocals a little bit more like forward. Like forward in the mix could be really cool. That's more of a personal preference though, not really like something you got to do. But yep, questions next time. All right, next up, we got the home freaking run, bro. All right.
Home freaking run.
That was a home run. That was a home run type beat.
What's that snare?
Yeah, what do you think about it, Dino? Is it too troll?
Okay. Yes, I'm just gonna be honest. I'm not a fan of that bass sound as like the driving force. Honestly, I thought it was a rhythm song when you were starting it with the intro. and then it went into a D&B pattern, which I feel like maybe the drums could have been louder in comparison to the. Okay, not the pan. Don't make the pan louder. Make the kick louder, or maybe sidechain it a little bit better. But yeah, that pan snare, like maybe as like an accent hit every now and again, but not as the backbone of the whole track. Can we get the intro again, please, Brad?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I really love the second part of that intro where it's like slowing down. It reminds me of Poseidon's Car That Cranks, which I know you probably know that track, massive D&B tune. And like if you're using samples from a game like this, first of all, be careful with that copyright. It should be brutal. I don't think Valve is going to come after you, but like you never know. The flows, they work. If I don't know, maybe it's like I just have a vendetta against like rhythm sounds. But yeah, the flows work. The flows work. The pan does not sound good. I'm just gonna give it to you straight, brother. The pan snare is too much too often, and it's not that it hurts or anything. It's just,
I mean, I can piggyback off of what you're just saying. Like, you want, in my opinion, in like any kind of a heavy bass music track, you want your kick and your snare to feel very just like, you know what I'm saying? Just like, like you want it to hit. And it's very hard to make something feel like it's hitting in that way if you are panning it as aggressively as you were. So I do agree with Dino. Like, I think every once in a while you can do that, but like if you're doing it the whole time, you're not getting that like that feeling that you want, especially in drum and bass, where you want that snare to like feel like it's hitting.
No, I think it was literally a sample of like a spoon hitting a pan. I think it's what that sounds.
Oh, well, yeah. I feel like, you want the snare to slap like really hard. And then on top of that, I think the flows are great. But when it comes to variation, like, I don't think it's that I like rhythm sound design, but I think the biggest thing that bums me out when it comes to the rhythm style is you guys stick with like one sound. I think if you had like 4 or 5 different sounds that were doing the same flow that you already have, dude, this track would be like just nuts. Like it's already nuts, but I think it would be like nuts squared. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. And then I feel like as far as the intro goes, it's good, but it's not quite like preparing me enough for what's about to happen. You could do stuff like just have an impact right at the beginning just to let people know shit's about to get crazy immediately. It's like what I would recommend is that. And then also having some kind of a sweep after this down pitching part, I think could really help like glue these two sections together in a little bit more of a cohesive way. But all in all, it's fun. I mean, dude, you've got the goofy fun energy. So, at least you're bringing that, my guy.
Yeah, for sure. I got a smile on my face from it. That's true. I did that. All right, let's hear from the.
You're muted, Real.
You're muted.
Thank you. I also thought it was gonna be a rhythm track at the beginning, and it's that sound. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's cool to like take sounds from different genres and try to repurpose them. And yeah, like Magdy was saying, having multiple of those sounds is cool. Like, I don't really like rhythm, but I like Subtronics because he'll do the rhythm thing, but then he just layers everything. So I don't know, maybe play with layering that with a similar sound, like duplicate the patch and mess with the high end on it and high pass it or something like that. The flow was a little wonky. That's okay though. That's not like a bad thing. I'm just kind of picky with flows. Like when I'm trying to figure out the rhythm of a track, that probably takes more time than anything else. And most of the time I hate the track and the sounds in it by the time I have the rhythm down. So maybe just like cook on different patterns, just like drag stuff around, see if different rhythms fit and other spots better. And rather than just like breaking from rhythm to rhythm, try to set them up so that the rhythm that comes in was kind of called for by the previous rhythm. And there's no like rule on how to do that, but once you've done it, I feel like like
I've heard Agron's other music. He knows what you're talking about.
the pan snare. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't notice the snare that much. I can't hear that well out of my left ear though, so it might be that. And good ideas. I thought the intro was fine. One thing, I do that pitching down thing a lot that you did. What's fun on that is if you're in Ableton, I know this works with other reverbs, but every reverb does like a slightly different thing. Ableton's does it really well. Create like a chain with the reverb and then turn the size down as you're pitching it down. Like start with the size all the way up, and it does this like tonal delay pitch down thing that sounds really weird. And you could layer that in if you want the pitch down to be like even more pronounced. But I did think the intro was fine, and it set you up for the drop pretty well. That's just something fun I like to do sometimes. But yeah, this is a nice track.
Hell yeah. Thanks, Agron. The goofy vibe is strong, which I fuck with. So, hell yeah. All right.
Like I said, I'm still smiling off that.
Hell yeah. All right. Next up, we got Vince Smoke. well. Vince did
How's
in
that?
fact smoke. um. So
Yeah, you asked the forbidden question.
yeah, I mean you kick us off, bro.
All right. Okay, he asked the forbidden question, so I'm gonna. I don't want to be mean, but your levels are all over the place. Your EQ is all over the place. Like, if you're gonna send it, if you're gonna send it to a studio, like the less they have to do to it to get it pushed out, then the more creative control you have overall. I wrote a lot on this as we were going through, and I'm not going to say it all because it's some stuff kind of is repeating itself. And so I'll start with the third one, the third question. The arrangement was okay as far as like the actual building blocks of the track. You had your pieces put in the right place. It sounded like every sound sequentially came one after another pretty well. Sound selection, I feel like you used some samples that might be played out. And if you made those samples yourself, why would you make samples that feel played out? Especially that riser snare roll in the beginning. Those snares in the beginning they were way loud, bro. They were way loud. And same thing on the build for the second into the second drop. Like you have a huge bass, like full level bass coming in the build. How are you going to go up from there? Like when you drop into it, like what are you dropping into? You need to give yourself some space to like explode. On a positive note, that last bass that comes in on the B section of the second drop, that motherfucker's huge, dude. Why are you saving that? You could, if you gave me that after that build, that would be cool. But the energy on the second drop, I feel like it just doesn't match the energy from the build. And you know, like these are all things that you have to consider before you even send something in. The bass in the first drop pans from right to left. Why? Like it does it in like the low mids. It can be cool, but usually that range like is going to be mono anyway on most sound systems, or on a cell phone, or on. I mean, realistically, people are going to listen. And if you hear this on a laptop or a cell phone, it might sound fire, you know. But I'm giving advice from the perspective of playing it on a sound system. Like that's for me, that's my goal for music, and I would hope that would be your goal for your music too, because this is music that should be played on a sound system. Like I see the vision. I just feel like, and I said this earlier, this is going to be a thing. You need to pick your frequencies and really, really rock them. I was noticing on the mini meters, like your low is here, really good. You're cutting out the second and third harmonics, really good. Good, like focusing and emphasizing on your bass. But again, in that middle section, it was a little bit too much. Maybe work on just getting the loud things louder and the things that should be quiet quieter. Back on like the bass and the snare roll. Like if you start that snare roll out that loud, that fast, like it's speeding up, sure. But if you increase it in volume, it just adds more tension and more build for a better release. I could probably go on. You asked the forbidden question. I'm sorry, dude. I don't mean to go hard on you. I love you. Great track. I see the vision. It's just knob turning in the right places. And you're at like 80-85% to where you would have it to going to the studio, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's me.
Yeah, I feel you, Dino, especially on the tension building. I feel like there's a lack of tension building in this song, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a difficult thing to get like figured out. But I think it's really important for any kind of bass music that has like this kind of style, any kind of really like heavy, hard hitting drop kind of bass music. You want to really make sure that you have room to go louder or get more intense right before that drop. Otherwise, there's nowhere to go, and it just feels like there's no energy change. Like a perfect example of that, I'm just going to play it right here. there's like the same exact level of intensity, and because of that, even though you've reached the drop, it doesn't really feel like there's really any energy slapping. And like the way you can improve that, there's a lot of different ways, but the biggest way is either making your drop louder or making your build up quieter in some ways, like removing low end, removing high end, turning things down. Like the vocals, for example, would be a perfect example. Like because you have the vocals in the second drop, you could turn down the vocals before, like a little bit, not a lot, but like enough to like give the illusion that like, oh, yo, the vocals are louder, like everything's louder here. Like, and that's what you want, is that big kind of juxtaposition between like right when the buildup ends and right when the drop starts. And yeah, no, I think
you could reverb reduce the vocals too. That would get the same effect. Sorry, Brad.
No, you're good. No, you're on point. Like that's facts. And yeah, I think the biggest thing with a lot of these types of tracks that are like really heavy dubstep, from hitting like studio level, the biggest red flag is like loudness. Like if you're trying to be competitive, -9 isn't bad, but I would say trying to push for like -7 or -5 on a track like this would be really beneficial. And you can do that in a lot of ways. Like you can obviously limit the track, you can clip the track, you can distort more. There's a ton of different ways to do it, but yeah, biggest thing is like loudness here. And then I agree with Dino. I know it sounded like it may have sounded wild when you first heard it, but making the loud things louder and the quiet things quieter is important. And I feel like there's drums in this that feel that way, especially like especially when it comes to your main drop drums. You have the kick, and I think the kick's actually a pretty good volume in comparison to everything else, but the main bass and the snare just don't feel like they're matching that kick in terms of like loudness and intensity. So you could either turn down the kick a little bit, or you could bring everything else up, which I think is a big move. And then too bland or too complex. I feel like everything sounds complex enough. I really like the breakdown. I think that the vocals could have been teased a little bit more in the beginning, just to like let people know like you're about to get some wild like vocal vibe going. But yeah. I think the arrangement and sound selection though is pretty good. It's not bad. It's just, yeah, there's some room for improvement as far as how they're working together to create this like feeling of drop. What about you, Real? Sorry,
I know you're good.
Forbidden question, on God.
Well, yeah, I don't know. So on that question, that's something like I was asking for a long time, and I have come to realize that you can't really answer that. It's just years of doing it every day and kind of learning what you need to push harder and like where sounds need to be sitting. It's a fucking plethora of knowledge that takes a really long time to understand how to get a track to that level. And I think a lot of people just send their stuff in to get it mastered, and it gets it close enough for their liking. Not hating on that. It's just, I think it's a lot cooler if you just kind of accumulate that knowledge yourself, and then you have full control over the way you're expressing yourself. There's like, okay, you could have used some rides in the first drop. The perks were just kind of dry, and there's a lot of space. That might be something you could play around with. I don't use them a ton, but it's an effective trick. It fills space really well. There's also like a white noise crash on some of the downbeats in the first drop. Make sure that is high passed. It sounds like it's low passed a little bit, and that could be making me think it's not high pass, but just make sure you don't have like low end coming from white noise, because that's not good. The sub's going to try to hit that, and it's not going to be able to. I think I had something else. Oh yeah, the bass that's doing the call in the first drop is panned super hard to the left. I would tighten that up a little bit. And yeah, and so they were talking about like how you want there to be an energy change from build up to drop, and you obviously want the drop to have more energy. Just shelf the highs a little bit, because I use a lot of saws in my bridges and my builds, and I find like once I build with that like giant saw riser, it's really hard to get the drop to match that, because saws just have tons of high end already. But if you just like shelf that a little bit, it's gonna feel like there's more energy in the drop if you have more high end. But yeah, that's just an idea. Yeah, this is a good track. Oh, and then maybe it was overlayered a little bit in the second drop. You brought the first bass back, but you didn't bring anything out. So that tells me like there's either space that wasn't being filled in the beginning of the second drop, or it's now too full. And I think it just became like a little bit too full because they're hitting different rhythms. But yeah,
Yeah. Fire track. Keep flexing on it for sure. All right. Oh, shit. Oh, Blonde has graced us.
Not quickly. But I am definitely going down, down, down. I know that nothing can stop me. Nothingness. 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 Suddenly I'm falling, falling, falling. I'm falling, falling. Suddenly I'm falling, falling, falling. I'm falling, falling. Nothingness. Falling, falling, falling. I'm falling, falling. Suddenly I'm falling, falling, falling. I'm falling, falling, falling. In space. Suddenly I'm falling 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 in falling, twisting, falling, twisting, falling, twisting.
that was fucking sick.
Dude, how? That's like crazy. That's like yeah. He nails like the vibe, you know, like that just dark like we're entering the catacombs type beat. Hell yeah, dude. Yeah. Dino's got his hand up. What's good, Dino?
All right. I don't know if the last guy is still in the chat or not, but you notice how the loud parts were loud and the quiet parts were quiet, and he left space to where like you could like really feel that difference. The only place that I feel like your mix down was kind of shaky blonde was in that middle riser part. If Brad can just play that middle dip, a little bit more to the other way. On the build.
On the build?
No, the build to the second drop, like dead halfway through the track. Yeah. Yeah, that sound, that white noise riser sound. You have that like detox unit like ring sound that's kind of a little loud. Just squash it a little more. You know what to do. You're good at this. What was that low end, bro? Oh my god, what was that low end? Like, that was nuts, dude. It was clean. It was perfect. The sound design was great. As far as like the levels go, the side chain on the downbeat kick, keep the side chain nice and fast so that you get a really good pump. On repetitive kicks, tighten it up so that like you don't lose as much bass, so that the bass frequencies are still filled up. Like it should be kick, bass, and then kick, bass, kick, bass. You know what I'm saying? Like the repeated kicks or the kicks that are not on a dominant beat, a heavy beat, a downbeat should be tighter. They should not open up the bass space as much as the downbeat kick, if that makes sense. Which I'm sure it does, because again, you know what you're up to. You know what you're doing. I love your sound, dude. Like this is definitely on with the Blonde brand. And like as always, keep up the good work. Like the vibes are real. It was a full track. It was minimal, but it wasn't. There was at no point did it feel empty. It felt like there was space, and it was intentional space. And I'm a sucker for deep dub. I really am. It is like ideologically the opposite of rhythm, and I'm all for it. Anyway, that's all I got.
What about you, Real? What do you think about the Blonde track?
Okay, I had the questions up. One of them was like, is it too repetitive? And no, hold on, let me just pull it up. It's right here.
It's in the bottom of our chat.
Oh, with some fills, mix it up a bit. Okay, I don't think within the drops it was too repetitive. I think you could have gone spicier for the second drop. One thing, like, and this is super subjective, it's just something I was hearing in my head. What's that Don Jamal song? Sorye Gaetan. Look up that song and tell me you couldn't do that with one of your basses where like, because you're going call response in the first drop with like some fills in it. You could just take the call and just kind of let it sustain, and maybe like if you're FMing, automate the FM amount a little bit, or you could automate like saturator, bass knob, or like grain delay if you're feeling insane. But you could just kind of have that like pitch bend and ride rather than going back to call response. That could just be something to play with, and it's really easy to do. But it wasn't like, I wasn't disappointed by the second drop by any means. I just thought you could have gone more insane. The mixdown isn't great. I thought it was pretty good. Nothing stuck out to me at all. Stereo was nice. The levels of everything, like nothing came in too hot that I could tell. Should I chill on the sidechain ducking? No, I think it went pretty hard. I liked it. Yeah, this was nice. I'm excited to see what you do with this.
Yeah, I think the mixdown is actually pretty dang good. I think the biggest thing that could help kind of just glue everything together and maybe make it like a teeny bit louder. And I know deep dub's not supposed to be like that loud, but I do think that some clipping on the mid basses could really help. The sub sounds great and the kicks sound great, but I think like if you clip those mid basses, you could like kind of push them all to a similar level, and then you don't even really have to worry about like if one is louder than the other. I also really like, Real's putting out like big ideas. I think if you had some sustain basses in here, that would be hard, because a lot of it's that like LFO-y kind of bass. But if you just have like a few like downbeats that are just like longer than everything else, and then you go back into the LFO, I think it does make it hit. And then the sidechain ducking, I think it sounded okay. Like, I think it's like kind of one of those kicks where you kind of want it to just feel like everything is getting out of the way, especially in the low end for like a period of time. But trying to find some fast kicks. Because Dino is right. I think it is good to still have like shorter side chains if you have like a lot of kicks together. But yeah, I think the side chaining is okay, especially on the downbeats. And then yeah, I think it's not that repetitive. I do think, yeah, real spit and facts. Just some like simple FM changes at times, especially with some legato-y stuff. You could keep like the same sort of timbre, but just kind of articulate it a little bit while it's like a longer note, and you're chilling. And I would say that even periodically you can do that and not have to do it like often. But yeah, I think the oh, we're gonna say sorry.
Go ahead.
No. The biggest thing is the vocals are on point, and I just wanted to say like one of my favorite parts of this is the vocal, because like the way you've got it, it's just sitting perfectly. Like I feel like that's one of my favorite parts of the whole track. So yeah, no, overall fucking amazing tune. It's like perfect. But yeah.
So I completely I wrote this down. The fills part, when you have the empty space after the snare in the second drop, primarily in the second drop, because I feel like the first drop is nice, it's good, but you have that empty space after the snare in the second drop. Some places you have a low tom fill, which is okay, sounds good. I'd like to hear like a mid tom fill, or maybe even like a cheeky phasing in and out and break every now and again. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's like they do it in dubstep from time to time. That could fill up some space. Obviously, don't do it every time. Use it sparingly, but definitely do use it, because that low tom fill, like me as a critical listener, I hear it and I recognize that it's the same or similar every time. But if you were to change it up, or maybe even like, because the track is falling, right? You could have it start with the high toms, go to the mid toms, go to the low toms. It fits in with the theme of the track, and it also fulfills the purpose of adding in some fills. But yeah, it completely slipped my brain when I was singing the praises of this awesome track. But yeah, no, great work, Blonde.
Yeah, Blonde, please keep flexing so that our ear holes may be graced with more Catacomb vibes. All right. Next up, we got that crack smoking amphibian, y'all.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I think the biggest thing that immediately stuck out to me, because you were asking how's the mixing, is the bass too loud? I think in comparison to everything else, yes, but I think you could make everything louder other than that. So, like, just wherever the bass is, I think it was sitting pretty okay as far as volume goes. So if you just turn up like everything else to match it in terms of like relationship with it, I think that would be a banging idea. And yeah, sometimes that can happen. One thing to just look at is like see where everything is hitting on like some kind of a meter, like an LUFS meter or a VU meter or a DB meter, and just kind of like try and get similar levels. Like a good one that I always recommend to people is like the kick and sub. So like getting those to sit at a similar level is like a great place to start. But yeah, arrangement. I feel like there was a little bit too much consistency in that main vocal thing. The duh, duh, duh. I think that could be variated a bit in whatever way you see fit. Sometimes the way I would approach that is even just pitching it up an octave or changing the instrument that it's playing. And I think the sounds seem interesting together. I think these breakdown sections could be a little bit more like tension filled, you know? Adding like some risery stuff or even like reverse crashes or white noise sweeps or stuff like that can help. Yeah, what do you guys think on those
Yeah, I
ideas?
think that's a super good idea for risers. Just take a reverb with a crazy long tail on it, and then kind of just bring the volume of the reverb in. Maybe I thought the arrangement was good. You could maybe play because the sub kind of feels like it's doing. The sub felt really nice, by the way. The harmonics on it were really nice. I had to turn my volume up a little bit, but I was happy that I did. Maybe you could play with like rather than it doing the same thing because it's an 808, play with like gliding it around rather than like stepping down. Like the occasional glide can always be nice. Especially if you glide it up like really high out of nowhere, that can be cool sometimes. And yeah, like Magdu said, the mix is good, but the sub is way too loud compared to everything else, and it's not like the track's kind of rigged up, but I'm pretty sure you could push everything a little bit louder. Just like saturate it until it starts to break a little bit, and then dial it back, and then push it into a limiter or a clipper, depending on the sound. Or it sounds like you're using a lot of just organic instruments in this, so I would probably limit that rather than clipping it. Yeah, just saturate into limiters. Were the sounds instruments fitting? Yeah, I'd say they were fitting. If you wanted to add like variation throughout, rather than like hitting the same notes, you can kind of dive into harmony a little bit. And if you don't really know any music theory, just add a note that's 7 notes above the note that you're hitting, and they're gonna play together like 99.9% of the time, and it's gonna sound good. But don't do it immediately. Like save that for the second half of the song because it makes it feel more rich. And I feel like you kind of want things to build throughout the song rather than just kind of throwing harmony in somebody's face first thing, and then you have to keep that up for the rest of the song, and it gets really difficult. Yeah, this is a good track.
Okay, Magduit, can you give me just the middle of any of those beefy sections for just like 2 seconds? Okay, thank you. That's good. So we spoke earlier, and you had mentioned that you were making this as like a hip hop, R&B, rap, drill type of music, which I understand is made with the purpose of having a vocalist come on over it, right? If I'm correct in assuming that.
No, that's
Um,
accurate.
Yeah,
that's accurate.
and the male voice is anywhere from like 1 to 200, females like 150 to 300, kids are like 300 plus. So you have space for that. That's good. You asked about arrangement. The quiet sections between the first and the second beefy section, and the quiet section between the second and the third and the fourth beefy section could probably just go. Unless you're trying to make it like a bridge chorus type thing. For like your like hip hop purposes. get rid of it. Just it's extra space, and if you're trying to have it be like danceable hip hop music, having big breaks in your track like that is not conducive to getting people moving. You know what I'm saying? It does vary. I don't think it varies enough though. You hit it right. You hit it right on the head. It's too consistent. It feels real. Hit it with the +7. That's just adding a perfect fifth. He says 99.9. I'll call it 100. It's gonna work 100% of the time. And that same thing applies when you have a vocalist on there. You can pitch them up 7 or pitch them down 5. Either way, it's gonna give you the same result, and that will help to beef things up. And you know, it's gonna be, I guess, a theme going forward with the Fiefs. Make the loud things louder, and the quieter things, in this case, louder too. If I could get, if I could get like 5 seconds out of the next clip, man, good.
Oh yeah, you mean the section here, or you mean this?
Yeah. Either, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So pause it. If that's a sample, I know you're in FL Studio. You can bring it into Edison, right-click it, detect pitch regions, and then that'll give you the MIDI notation for it. It'll dump it into a piano roll for you. Yeah, Poyo's right. Sound Good guys are on the master, 3 of them, or just Maximus the right way. Look up eliminates octagon. It's the octagon, right? That's what he calls it when he puts 8 OTTs on something? I think he calls it the octagon. OTT is free. Maximus is in FL Studio. Like,
Soundgeyser's also in FL Studio.
Soundgeyser's also in FL Studio. We're not gonna like, I'm not gonna tell you to put FabFilter Saturn on your master track and then do Pro Q3 on everything. Like, it's got to be attainable advice. Yeah, the bass, you're talking about the bass being too loud earlier. I think the bass is right. The bass is perfect. It's everything else needs to come up to the level of the bass. So as far as we were talking earlier, as far as your speaker blowing out or something, I don't think that was the fault of the bass, because it was at a good level. And yeah, Maximus is very underrated. It's at a good level. Keep it up, grind at it. Either work. My recommendation, honestly, is get in as many speed beat challenges as you can. Weaver does stuff. We do stuff every Thursday and Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern. We have the Flock Flip. Come through, fam. And try and make stuff faster outside of your comfort zone using new techniques and sounds that you otherwise wouldn't use, and get those reps in. Just either do the same thing over and over again until you're faster at it and it becomes muscle memory, or try something new that you haven't tried and do it in a quick manner. Like, it'll help a lot. And come back week after week. We want to see how your sound grows. This is a really nice track, and for the purposes of adding in a vocalist, I think it works. You left the room there, but there might be just a little bit too much room, especially in the high end. But that's all I got to say about this one.
Yeah, I just wanted to also add, like, that perfect fifth vibe works with octaves too, and this is like for all tracks out there. So you could do like 19 semitones, 32 semitones, or 31 semitones. And I think that's like just an important little idea, is like you can kind of like keep going with it. You don't have to just stop at like 7 semitones. So there's a lot of room for like continually adding more harmonics on top of stuff in that way. But yeah, no, it's a cool track. Definitely keep coming back. Flex, bro. Flex. Sailing away. All right. Next up, Just a Feeling.
That's a fucking vibe.
Facts. Yeah, that was actually very, very deep, and I feel like I definitely remember your style of arrangement from previous Feedback Fridays, and I like how you're getting a little bit more like danceable with it. You know what I'm saying? Like you came through on that angle, which I think is really cool. But yeah, I mean, I guess if it's cool with y'all, I'll just start by saying, um, when it comes to your first question, like is the bass too loud or prominent or is it too repetitive? I think it's not about the bass in particular or the repetition. It's about how many elements you have going on at the same time. So like I don't think that anything is really like overpowering. It's actually kind of the opposite. I don't think like anything really like stands out enough for me to like really be able to grab onto everything at once. Like I know good rules of thumb when it comes to that is trying to keep it to like 5, maybe like 7 main elements at once. And it's okay to have like other elements than that, but definitely make them a little bit more like background, kind of like psychoacoustic elements and less like just the same level as everything else. So like for example, in this case, like the string kind of instrument, I think you could bring that like further back in the mix, and really try and make like mainly the guitar and the bass be like the two main things that stand out in the entire song. I think the drums could be a little bit louder too. And for your question for making it less repetitive, the guitar, I think that's like the main thing for the whole driving factor of the song. If you can just come up with like some other flows, maybe like a breakdown section where it's more solo-y, like like something a little bit more like just different than just like something a little bit more like just different than that. But yeah, other than that, I'm really excited that you've been able to conquer that danceable vibe. Like you're on it. So good stuff. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. This was nice. It's definitely one of my favorites from you. You always do get like experimental, which I appreciate, but it seems like you're kind of taming that into a more like presentable form, which I know can be difficult, and it is super cool when you actually do get it right. For the bass, so you're using a saw, and I think there's some distortion on it because the low mids are like pretty loud, and it did kind of feel like it was dominating a little bit. So maybe if you're in Ableton, DM me. I'll send you this thing I use for saw wave basses because I pretty much do everything I can before I put an independent sub under something. A little bit less now these days, but I've developed a few tricks to not have to fucking add a sine wave under it, and one of them's like this key tracking thing that will dip your low mids for you even when you change notes, and then you can get away with using a saw as your main sub, just because the second and third harmonics stack up really fast on a saw wave. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say an alternative to that. There's this plugin that's not free, of course, but it's called BX by Brainworks Subsynth. Does the exact same thing that Rio was just talking about, but it's a third-party VST, so that might help. But yeah, continue. I just was like throwing that out there.
Is it too repetitive? No, just because that switch in the second half was like so well done that it kind of felt like a whole new thing. But yeah, I mean, varying the instruments on top could be helpful. And I think once you if you push those low mids down a little bit, you're gonna realize like the stuff in the high end could be shining a little bit more. That's something I notice all the time. I build a song with just like a ridiculous amount of low mids in it, and I'm like, this is perfect. And then I dip it on the master, and it's just like hollow. And sometimes it's because you're dipping it too hard, and sometimes it's because you weren't really paying attention to the high end because the low mids were so loud while you were making the song. So yeah, maybe just bringing the high end layers out more, like Magdavit said, letting that guitar really be one of the main focuses. It's OTT saturator a little bit on it. But yeah, I don't know. This is a really good track.
Okay. All right. Okay. Not to be that guy, but are we making are we making dance music or are we making experimental jazz freeform? Like, because depending on which direction you're going, I think you're going. I don't know. It's these guys are both right that like it's kind of leaning more into a mainstream sound, but I feel like as far as like especially in the second half that jazz run on the bass synth, that was fantastic. Like I love me some jazz, and if it were me, if it were my vision, I would lean into that. Brad is right as far as the da 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 on that guitar chording hit. Take out the amount of times that repeats. Use it more sparingly as like a movement ender or as like a measure ender, and maybe and this is for arrangement, right? And maybe like do like those runs and those riffs. That'll make it feel less repetitive because it's a very like I don't know, like that like world music offbeat dum 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 like it's like a 3/4 or a 7/8 rhythm, something like that. And it's really good for ending bits and pieces and punctuating your movements. And if you have it more sparingly, because it's a contrast to the rest of the track, right? Um, and like it's cool. Like I really like that jazz riff. Let's see, what was the other thing? Is the bass too prominent? No, but I agree with Brad in that it feels kind of crowded. Um, and like a crowded track, try doing like sequential movements with your instruments. Um, and it's like one thing at a sound, one kind of sound at a time, and giving them all their own space, not just necessarily like their own space in the frequency range, but their own space in time as well. And I feel like that would probably fit with the whole vibe of the track. I loved it, dude. Like it's so left field from everything else that most of the guys put on these submissions. Like it's always refreshing to hear something that's not just wah wah wah. Okay, I'm done. Anyway, yeah, it's and there's ways to do the like the note tracking in FL Studio. I actually think it's easier to do in FL Studio than Ableton. But anyway, that's all I got on that, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Great job. Seriously. That was awesome. All right. Oh, next up we got Rage. All right. It's a bit of a juxtaposition from the previous track.
Nice.
That was pretty rage filled. Yeah, you guys kick it.
All right. So the
Okay.
questions were, what is the strongest / weakest element in the track. You only had strong elements. It was, and I guess that might just be what Tear Out is. Yeah, maybe a little bit of like sonic contrast would be good. Did the sub sound fat enough? The sub was too fat, brother. Break wall below 30, 35. Just to clean up a little bit of the mud, kind of maybe. I don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, real, but like even in Tear Out and Rhythm, like you said that they push the second and third harmonic sometimes, but if you're trying to push for the subs for a sound system, like just the more you can isolate just that one peak, that fundamental note in the bottom, the louder it'll sound. Well, the louder it'll feel. It won't sound or feel loud to your ears, but it'll be felt more. And that's definitely something you can do. Overall sound design thoughts? Yeah. Matt just said it earlier, like with the whole Rhythm Tear Out thing, like it's cool sound design. It's just too much of the same thing over and over and over again. And I just recommended it to the last guy as far as like sequential sounds go. If you were to either go like bum 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 or ba ba bum ba ba bum ba ba bum in the case of Tear Out and Rhythm, and then switch sounds. And Brad has a really good, sorry, Magduet has a really good video on iterative sound design on his YouTube channel. He calls it the fractal method, I believe.
Yeah, the fractal technique. But yeah, you're on point.
Fractal technique, yeah. So you start with one sound. If it's not a sample, which I hope it's not, and it's not hard to make those kinds of sounds like fresh. But you make a sound, and then you change it 5 to 10%, and then you follow the first sound with that sound, and then you change the second sound 5 to 10%, and then you follow the second sound with the third sound. It allows you to hit that same 1 or 2 notes over and over again and have it feel kind of fresh. And I know that the whole point of Tear Out and Rhythm is not to feel fresh; it's just to go rage out with your bros on like ketamine or whatever, and bang your head. But yeah, like it's a Tear Out track. I'm not necessarily the best person to give feedback on it, but like if I were making Rhythm and Tear Out, like you see like how it's a big sausage across, and Brad, if you could just play any part in the track.
Yeah, I think that gets the point across.
There's no breaks for the ears. There's no silence. Silence is music too, brother. And like, and Rhythm kind of gets this right. Like they kind of get it right, where you have like these big, like squelchy sounds, like, and it's like sucking in and out. But there's moments where there's silence. And Real mentioned it earlier. If you're to play this on a loud sound system, if the sound guy is worth his salt, he's turning you down. Like this is grating and painful on the ears makes my tears fall out. But if again, you got it on point. It's all gas and no brakes, right? And if that's the vibe you're going for, great. I mean, it's only 1 minute and 32 seconds, but by the time we were halfway through that B section, like it was just too much of the same. And you could very easily just, even if you just put like a phaser or a flanger on top of it, like, or like the Kilohertz bundle, it's free. Grab the phaser, put it on there, put the mix at like 5%, and then automate it to where it goes like 5 to 25% every other hit or something. It will change it enough to where it doesn't feel so drastically the same. And again, that's just a gripe I have with the genre. I understand that like this is how this genre goes, and I can appreciate that and I can respect that. So I'm gonna leave it to the Rhythm experts.
Okay. As a certified rhythm expert, play a part of the drop really quick. Yeah, okay. You're doing the pitch bend thing with the sub, which is fire. That sounds like super good in rhythm and tear out. And I get because it's pitch bending, it's hard to tell, but it looks like it's hitting like E. Dinah was talking about like pumping second harmonic. I've seen like tons of rhythm in D minor. Second harmonic is slammed because a lot of systems can't hit D minor. But you can hit E fine, so you don't have to worry too much about if anything you want to dip the second harmonic. I didn't notice it being super present. That's just like a general rule of thumb. Hold on, sorry. Oh, strongest, weakest element in the track. Okay, one thing that put me off like immediately, and this is just something that bothers me for some reason, it might just be me. When the snare comes in full force in the intro of the track, I don't like that, especially if it's a loud track, because I'll be listening to music in the car and this will come on and the snare is just like ear piercingly loud. Because I had my volume turned up for a previous track. So maybe like, and I mean, if you're mixing this in a live performance, you might want that snare super loud. But maybe for the intro, like either low pass it a little bit, low pass it, or just shelf the highs a little bit. But yeah, that's just something that bothered me. It might bother me more than other people because I hear other people do it and it just it rubs me the wrong way. Subs sound fat enough. Yeah, as Dinah said, yeah. I'm on headphones right now, so I can't really tell if it's too fat or not. It seemed okay, and like I said, the pitch bend, super nice. Overall sound design thoughts? It was good. I struggle with tear out sound design, and this was like it wasn't overly harsh. I didn't have to turn my volume down, and I'm pretty sensitive to high end. So you did good with like getting that like white noisy full spectrum high end without it being too harsh. But yeah, I don't know if you wanted to add diversity, just reference like the flows of Subtronics, not the sound design, but the flows. He's really good at going from tear out flow to tear out flow with more or less no break in between, and it's something I can appreciate a lot. But yeah, this was good.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, my opinion on tear out is it's not bad, but I also think that this is like personal greedy producer vibes right here, but I feel like variation in sound is such a pleasurable thing for a listener, even if it's really heavy. And yeah, Subtronics is a great example, as well as like Joe B is another great reference where like Joe B's newest album, what is it, like Toxic If Swallowed, I think, is like the perfect example of like the style of tear out that I think would flex really hard because it's extremely loud, it's extremely heavy, but there's slight variations between flows. And because of that, like what I've noticed about tear out tracks like this is you get this this feeling like the initial part of the drop like it's crazy, like it goes hard, but by the time you're here you're kind of just like it's not like hard anymore, like it's not like hitting anymore because of two reasons. Obviously, like in my opinion, the sound design, but also the no breaks. Yeah, having like even small moments between like sections that are like really aggressively letting go of sound can help a lot. But yeah, let me answer your questions though. Yeah, strongest, weakest element in the track. Yeah, I think that everything is really loud. I don't think anything's like too strong or too weak. I feel like the sub might be, but it's hard to tell because I'm on headphones. I feel like this change up here felt really weird. Like leading up into that somehow, even if you're just cutting out frequencies, I think could help a lot. Because I did feel like the change in vibe, but it hits in such a way where I wasn't ready for it. So it was just kind of confusing. But yeah, you could definitely lead into something like that though, with like some reverse reverby stuff and like high passing and all that kind of stuff. yeah, overall sound design thoughts. Yeah, you know my opinion. More variation would slap. Yeah, reference Subtronics, Joby. Both of them I think are really good at doing this style of heavy, but then like creating this like evolving drop, which I think keeps people like really engaged. And it's, I would say, this is of course an opinion still, I would say it's even harder than Tear Out. I said it. All right. Thank you though. Your track was fire. I think overall I agree with Real's statement. Like you got to the heftiness without it being too hefty, which is nice. So yeah, keep up on that level of aggressiveness. But yeah, good stuff. All right. Next up, placeholder vocals. Oh. Was it? Oh. What's going on here? This is the wrong one. Yeah, link it. Just DM it to me or... Yeah, on God, on disqualified. Yeah, disqualified, bro. No, just DM it to me. In the meantime, there are a handful of people who did not get to submit in time, so I will play theirs. I'm just gonna play one first.
Let's
and then we'll see.
let's not make it a habit of this, by the way, as well, guys.
Yeah, this time
We're
around,
gonna-
it's the first one, so we're gonna be. Oh no, okay, he got it to me quick as fuck. So we'll play his still. But yeah, we this is the first FIF, right, in a while, so we are going to give you this grace period. But in the future, yeah, you will have 15 minutes to get your track in there, or it will not be in there. So we love you guys. All right, country music. Wow, yeah, that had me vibing. Yeah, I guess I'll kick this one off. Do the Foley elements flow well from the verse to the chorus? I honestly didn't notice, so that means yes. Yeah, I think they flowed nicely. I would have probably noticed it sticking out if it didn't. Does the lower mid-range get stuffed up too much? I don't think so. I think it sounded nice. And then are sub-frequencies too loud, or their higher melodic elements in the chorus too quiet? I think they're a perfect level, but what I want to hear from the melodic angle is some more like solo-y stuff, because I think this one do 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 gets like a little bit It gets like a little bit repetitive, but what you could do is kind of like trail off with solo-y stuff. So you could be like do 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 do, and then be like do 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 do, you know, like just some stuff that's like very like solo-y or like trailing kind of elements that kind of play off all of this. I think would be great. Like I feel like it wants like a call and response with like a guitar solo thing. Yeah, Drew nailed it. Yeah, call and response melodically, literally. Because you've got the call there, it just needs that response. And then missing the vocals, yeah, dude, you already know, bro. Look at this photograph, bro. Just drop that on here and you're good. Yeah. What do you guys think?
You wanna go real? I got a lot to say about this one.
Yeah, I'll go. Excellent use of space. The reverb and all of the elements within it were just kind of like dancing around. That was super nice. There was one sound in the high end. If you look at it on a spectrum, you'll see it. It's got some peaks at like 15,000. Tame those a little bit. Maybe soothe, but there were like so few of them that you could probably individually cut with the EQ. Don't cut them all the way, just like they were just significantly louder than everything else. And when you turn the volume up like really loud, that gets really harsh, and you never really know how loud people are going to be listening. So you kind of want to watch for that. I feel like if you soothe it, it might kind of take the life out of it though. If you do turn the sharpness and the selectivity all the way up, so it's like only cutting out the things that are really, really loud, and then make sure you like focus the range. Foley elements flow well. Yeah, they attributed to that nice space you created. Are the sub frequencies too loud? No, it looked perfect on millimeters, and I couldn't hear the sub on my headphones, which is good. Like if I can hear it, it means it's probably a little bit too loud. Are the higher melodic elements too quiet? No, I don't think so. The levels seem pretty good for everything, to be honest. And no, I don't think the low mids get muffled. I saw it was like phasing at like 200, but it's I let stuff phase in that range. I think it sounds good so long as there's not like tons of things phasing. And you left that room from like 100 to 200, which is kind of like the danger zone. That's where stuff gets really sketchy in the low mids. If you have like two things trying to hit at 150 and then your kick transient comes in, it just sounds really messy. But you didn't do that, and it sounded good. Yeah, Dino.
All right. I'm gonna have a number of quick questions, and just answer them as best you can. Okay. Male or female vocalist? Oh wait, there's a little bit of a delay on the screen. And then, if male or if female? If male, then you need to consider your space in the lower frequencies. Male rapper audit, don't do that to your track. Just
I just imagine him putting the snake rap on top of that. That would be funny.
no, he's putting no emotion on there. I already know. No, don't take a track like this and make it funny. Okay, that's disrespectful. Also, Infiltrator or D Blue? That was the next question, because the beat repeat was nice. The vinyl stop needs to go. It just unless you can high pass it at the same rate that it slows down and stops, it's, to my ear, just it didn't sound good. And Brad, can you play the first 2 to 3 bars of the track? Keep going. All right, you can stop right there. That first 2 movements the part that has the lead, the part that doesn't have the lead. That's perfect. Beautiful. Fantastic. Can you play anywhere in the remainder of the track? The high end, the air, whatever white noise is making that, it's stuffing it up. It's adding too much to the the space that you've created with that Foley movement and that percussion line. It's ethereal, it's pleasant, it's like galaxy vibes, and then it feels like you're smogging it up, right? And yeah, like, why? Like, Block said it there at the best. Why would you take this beautiful deep track and go meme with it? Like, you know, so that high end sound, if you want to replace that with something that's gonna like kind of fulfill that space, do nature Foley, like leaves in the wind, water. I'm a fan of birds. It's kind of a joke going in the servers. I'm the bird man. And like you can build like a real vibe, and you can also incorporate that into like a bass flow movement. I know that Real said that you didn't really hear the bass too much in there, and that's fine. It looks like it's like a pure sine wave. If you could just again play anywhere, Magnet. Yeah, that's good. That's good. You have like a nice like the bass hits and then it rolls out. You could bring it back in with like some rustling sounds, like footsteps on gravel, footsteps on leaves, just to bring out more like that nature feel, like that like forest vibe. Because this is when I was making music, maybe like 8-10 years ago. Like my whole point was that you would hear it at the stage and enjoy it. You could hear it walking through the woods and enjoy it, or you could be in your tent and not sure if there's music going, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, there's a right? And it sounds like you're trying to go for like that psychedelic, confused, like, is there music, is there not music going kind of vibe. And having an auto-tune male rapper on there is not gonna get that vibe. It's gonna take like, for me, this is like a B+ track where it's at. Another week or so of work, like listen to it, work on it, put it down for 3 days, work on it again, then you could get it to like 95%. And I'm of the belief that if you can get a track to 90%, 95%, after that it's just diminishing returns. There's stuff that I would do personally, like if I were working on this track in the low end, that could be more prominent and more pushed out, but this is your artistic vision. And if you want to do the rap thing with artistic vision, make 2 versions, for the love of God. Like, singing can work. Like, you could have, just as long as you're very intentional with the placement, you could have like choral vocalizing stuff. That's the reason I asked, is it going to be like counter melody or is it going to be harmonizing? Because when you have that big, like the bar starter, the dum dum dum, I feel like if you have that starting out harmonizing like perfectly, maybe an octave up or an octave down, and then slowly stepping away. I don't know what the music theory term for that is, where it starts the same and then it steps away and then it ends back in the same like harmony again. You could do something like that, and that could be pretty cool. But like, just awesome track, dude. Again, was it Deep Blue Glitch or was it Infiltrator that was doing that pitch stop? Because at first I thought it was Infiltrator when I heard the beat repeats, but then when I heard the pitch stop, I was like, ooh, that sounds like Glitch. And like, Yeah, just a few little things like you can tighten it up by taking things out. It was a reactor patch. It's molecular? Really? Buffer shuffling reactor patch. You gotta DM me on that. I gotta see what that is because I'm a whore for reactor.
Yeah.
Um,
But no,
yeah,
all in all,
honestly,
all in all,
yeah, great taco. Yeah.
banging. This shit is gonna go crazy. All right, so like honestly, both ways work though. Like I see the vision. I'll be honest, like I'm a huge fan of the new Eliminate EP that he put out because he's got a couple tracks in there that are just like fucking meme vocals on like really deep, like emotional music. And I'll be honest, it seems fun. So like, yeah, do whatever feels right. But I will say it's gonna like fully make you a meme lord. So you better, be willing to uphold the meme lord, role. But yeah, good shit, dude. All right. Next up, we got Go All Out. Oh, looks like he got reported too many times or something. Or maybe he left too many games. But yeah. Let's see what Going All Out sounds like.
Hey, new phone, who this? I'ma pull up in a brand new whip. You go try me, that's real stupid. Go all out, it's all I do, babe. Hey, new phone, who this? I'ma pull up in a brand new whip. You go try me, that's real stupid. Go all out, it's all I do, babe. Hey, new phone, who this? I'ma pull up in a brand new whip. You go try me, that's real stupid. Go all out, it's all I do, babe. Hey, new phone, who this? I'ma pull up in a brand new whip. You go try me, that's real stupid. Go all out, it's all I do, babe. Hey, new phone, who this? I'ma pull up in a brand new whip. You go try me, that's real stupid. Go all out, it's all I do, babe. 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 Go all out, it's all I do, babe. All I do, all I do. Hey, new phone, who this? I'ma pull up in a brand new whip. You go try me, that's real stupid. Go all out, it's all I do, babe. Hey, new phone, who this? I'ma pull up in a brand new whip. You go try me, that's real stupid. Go all out, it's all I do, babe. Hey, new phone, who this? I'ma pull up in a brand new whip. You go try me, that's real stupid. Go all out, it's all I do, babe. 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 All I do, all I do.
Go ahead, real.
Flex.
You're muted.
Oh yeah, he's hip. He's hip.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I'm still kind of amazed with like bro is new and your sounds are all very professional. Like you have the secret mastering chain that nobody will tell me about. No, just kidding. Everything sounds good though. Like all your sounds are your palette's nice. One thing that stuck out to me was the halftime switch up in the second drop. I like the idea, but I think you went a little crazy on the kick drums, and it wasn't like it was just kind of weird to go from such a basic drum beat to like a very, very complex drum beat. Like I think you could find a better middle ground between the two. I'm all about varying the drums, but I think if you vary it too far, and then because you brought it right back into house drums, if you vary it too far, um, it kind of just feels like a weird moment rather than like a well-developed different section. I really like the flutter in the second drop that comes in really fast and slows down. That's probably like one of my favorite songs in or sounds in music. Just like you can do that to anything and it sounds so good. What are the questions? Is the second drop bass too harsh? No, it didn't really seem harsh to me. I've progressively had to turn my volume down throughout the night though because my ears hurt, but it didn't. I'm pretty sensitive to high end, and it didn't stick out to me, so I wouldn't say it's too harsh. If you feel like it's harsh though, put a little bit of soothe on it. That's like when I'm finishing a song, most of my sounds get a little bit of soothe, especially if I'm using like amp and overdrive and just like stuff with a lot of really grainy high end. And if you're not filtering in between distortion units, you're like distorting distortion, which just creates some harshness in the high end that might not be noticed until you turn it up really loud. How's the arrangement? Arrangement's fire. Like I said, I like the whole that it develops well, and I like the idea of the halftime section. I think you could just execute it a little bit better. Is there enough energy building in my buildups? Yeah, I think so. I mean, honestly, with buildups, I'll like layer stuff until it's too much, and then kind of strip things back and like EQ stuff out. Because you really can get away with a lot of sounds in a buildup if you're EQing them like super precisely. Um, yeah, no, this is a good track, and I really am impressed with like your sound design and the cleanliness of it. Like it, I still don't feel like I have stuff this clean, and I've been making music for like over 2 years now. But yeah,
What do you think, Dino?
Do you even make music, Torn Aspect? Or do you just is it just okay, I'll stop the joking. Pre-drop vocal in the beginning, it's grating, it's too loud. That's just one thing that you could probably turn down a little bit. Uh the the okay, so you have we'll call it 4 sections, but really 5. You have an I know some people do like drop 1, drop 2, drop 1A, drop 1B. I go A section, B section. So you have a bass in 2A, so that is the second drop altogether. It's the one that kind of like frequency shifts upwards. It doesn't. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it there. It does, however, work in the B section after the halftime drop. And I don't know why it works there and it doesn't work the first time around you do it, because I'm pretty sure those sections are identical, if not 80% the same. So like that's good. The bass is not too harsh, it's just kind of funky. You have like some fills in there that like kind of saw fills towards the end. That's when I noticed them, at least. I don't know if they're in other parts of the song. Those kind of come in funky. Maybe it's just like you could try and make them fit in, but if it were me, I would just try a different sound altogether than that part, just because it's like doesn't really mesh so well with everything else. It's not in the vibe of the rest of the track. Which, by the way, great vibes as always. Like Real said it, you progress so fast. You and your whole little cult circle of house music makers. Which by the way, this is you can call this a house music track. So definitely that. As far as like things you could, oh sorry, how's the arrangement of the song? It's good. Maybe get some like chunkier open like Mala style open hats, like like either rides that are chopped down or open hats that are like really blasted hard. You know what I'm talking about. Just to get that like that more house like driven feeling. Maybe try and make room in the frequencies for the hi-hats. I just feel like if you could play anywhere in the second section, Magna. Yeah, go on. I'm expecting a nastier, fatter, like open hat vibe, open hat that closes. So like either do it with like a chop group going straight into the snare, or just a sample that just slices at some point. It just feels like that's more in line with the overall energy. It's like a huge, because this is house music. Like your drums are, yes, they're repetitive, but they are the driving factor in the track. Enough energy building in my buildups. I don't know if you were here earlier when I was harping on people not building energy the right way, but that first rise that you do in the very beginning, even though the volume of it doesn't change, it's either a good sample that you use or you're filtering it out in a way that allows the pitch to raise while it starts at a full volume and it builds energy the right way. That's something that you do really well, I think. And like the build in the middle, if you could play the dip in the middle there. For the back.
Go all out, it's all I do, babe. Hey, new phone, who this? I'ma pull up in a brand new whip. You go try me, that's real stupid.
It's different. It's the varying levels. I love it. It's really good energy differential. You have a nice push and pull. It gives your people a moment to like stop dancing. Very good dance music. Very good work. Torn aspect. Again, I've been listening to your music for the past 5 or so months now. You're improving still. You have a little way to go. If that halftime section is indicative of what I've been telling you this whole time, maybe you should step your way into like some two-step music, but that's just a personal opinion, and that's just what I want to hear someone with your skill set make. But that being said, I will take it off and leave it to Magno.
Yeah, I mean, Real said it. Real flexed so hard, dude. He read my mind like some kind of wizard. Yeah, the kick section in the dubstep, like halftime thing, you want to just have like that kick and snare on the 1 and 3. And like, I know it feels like you want to add kicks, but there's something very special that happens when you have that 1 and 3. It's like the most like intense headbanging urge like arises within all of the dubstep listeners of the planet. And if you have too many kicks, it starts to feel like that rhythm of headbanging starts to get stripped away from you and you can't feel as good doing it. Yeah, I would reference just like some older school dubstep for Real. Like I feel like like what is this from? It's like old school like Monster Cat dubstep almost, or like even you could even go so far as to say Skrillex-y. Like I would reference, I mean, like Skrillex is the GOAT anyway, so I would reference some of his like older dubstep tracks and just look at his drum patterns, and you'll see that it's like super simple flows on the kick and snare. Everything else can be creative, like you can get spicy with the hi-hats and all that kind of stuff, but the kick and snare, like if you just keep it locked in, it will definitely improve the danceability of that section. I think the stereo, everything stereo wise sounds great. I saw you asking about that. I think that, like Dino was saying, I agree with that open hi-hat. Like if you have like, you know, like something like that kind of mixes up instead of just having that like closed hi-hat going, like a more aggressive, like offbeat open hi-hat, I think that would flex. But yeah, all in all, dude, yeah, the mixing and mastering is just, he's killing the game. For a year of making music, this dude is nuts. He is literally cracked out of his mind. All right. That's all I have to say. Good shit. Oh, 100%. Yeah, this is facts.
Yeah,
right here.
definitely. And I've said this before. I'll say it again. The people who are a part of the flock are some of the highest skill cap producers out there. Which reminds me, like and subscribe, guys. You know the drill.
Yeah,
I hate to
on
be that
God.
guy, but yeah, this channel is gonna be coming through with some more regular community driven content.
These are facts. But yeah, on to the next legend. We have Poyo Spirit. No pressure, my guy. No pressure.
Okay, that flow switch up was like the type shit I was trying to talk about earlier. This is hot. Yeah, this is great. Flows are insane. Sound design insane as always. Yeah, I don't really fuck with rhythm that much. Like I enjoy it here and there. I like it live, but I always fuck with your rhythm. You do it pretty well. What are the lufts at? I don't even want to know. Enough. They're at enough. Do you think a good mix? Wait, do you think a good mix can beat a mastered track? Okay, yeah. And this is a personal thing, and I've talked to. It's not fully personal. I've talked to some people that know what they're doing, and they say something similar. You can essentially get away with just a clipper on your master. That's all you should need. Like if you do all your sound design right, you get all your leveling right, you get a really clean mix. All you need to do is clip it so that you can export it. That being said, like there are some like little mastering tricks that like I think the farthest I've ever gone with a master fader is like, and I'm pretty sure Bunting told me this trick. Yeah, he hopped in voice chat a while ago and showed it to us. You just dip your lows with the EQ, you clip it, you dip your lows, and then you push it into a limiter because when you're like and that just gets you loudness, which I don't really think you need more of. And you just do that because like your low end is going to be the loudest, and rather than like going in and turning everything down individually, you can just kind of turn it down and get like an extra loof if you want one. And I just did that recently, and I got like 1 or 2 lefts louder. But again, I don't really think you need that, and I think you can essentially do your master in the mix. I know Subtronics does it that way. He was like 2 years ago with like everything. He just clipped everything and then put like a saturator on his master on digital clip. And yeah, I think with like rhythm and stuff too, when you're pushing for like crazy loudness, I assume you're doing this with a clipper already on your master, like when you're sound designing and everything. And I think that works really well with like tear out and rhythm because you're having things like clip together, and the like harshness gets shaved off a lot of the times. Like I'll have two sounds that are like pretty harsh, and then I slam them into the master clipper, and you could do this on a group clipper too. It kind of takes the harshness away. But so yeah, and then I don't think you'd want to go in and like put a whole mastering chain on that if everything's meshing pretty well. But I don't have the cleanest masters, so take that with a grain of salt. Is this a track that needs good break in between, or do you think we should keep the same energy and have smaller drop window between drops? I think you could. I'm kind of confused on the question, but I think you can do a whole second drop because the flow switch up in what you have was like so clean and so called for. And yeah, I think you could just go even crazier with like flow variation on the second drop, maybe bring in some like new crazy sounds. But yeah, this was fire. It always is.
What do you think, Dino?
So the only thing that I didn't like is that first snare hit and the build up.
Y'all are
Was-
fucking
it just-
mind readers. Jesus.
It was just too loud. It's not that we're mind readers. It's just an issue that is with the track that stands out to it.
That
know,
too.
As far as what Real said, I don't like Rhythm either. I don't mind listening to your tracks though. They're usually fantastic, and this is another good example of your body of work. Like it's really good stuff. I 100% support the vision. It, you know, like if the other guys who are making Rhythm and Tear Out are watching or listening, this is how you do it. He changed the sounds enough over a period of time. It was at the right time when something could have gotten stale if he repeated it. He didn't continue to repeat it. He changed it up. He switched the flow. He switched the sound. He did something to make it a little bit different, right? And it's just very good work. Very good work. Do you think a good mix can be a master track? I said it in chat. A good mix does not need a mastering. You just maybe put a limiter on the master, like Real said. Like if you're having to do all sorts of wizardry and trickery to bring out the volume of your track, like on the master, then something's not right, right? Like you're not put good in, get good out, right? If you need to raise the level of the hi-hats on the master instead of just raising them in the mix down phase, like then you're not doing it right. And when I was a young fellow, I had someone tell me, he said, back in the day, he was one of those back in the day guys, back in the day, we'd cut our tapes because they would record on tapes, like in studios. And then we would put them down for a week, and then we'd mix it, and then we'd cut that, and then we'd put that away for a week. And he said they do this over like 2 or 3 months to where they had different vibes and different mix downs that were like at different levels, and it affects the track. The mix down can really affect the track. And if you're trying to like get the most loudness out of it, like you already said, you have a soft clipper on every channel. Like that's a good move to make. And I'm sure Brad will probably say something along the lines of soft clip them, group them, and then soft clip them again. And just like keep building it and bringing those elements together and gluing them. And then you don't need a master. You don't need the latest Sparkle VST with the GUI that runs your CPU into the ground. Like, just a good mix track does not need a master. Does this track need a good break in between, or do you think we should keep the same energy and have a smaller window between drops? Definitely. I mean, it's only a minute. The length that it's at right now is okay. If you were to break it up into 2 30-second sections, I don't think that's enough to like, especially with like a rhythm crowd, like where they're really getting headbanging and the intensity and the energy of your track is building and building still. Like by the time they really get that rail shaking, like you don't want to take that away from them. Give them a good 20 seconds of like ripping the rail out in front of the subs. Yeah, just and if that is all you have, I don't, because I know rhythm is mixed differently, and so any like down section you have is not going to be played anyways, and that's okay. Um, sometimes it'd be like that, but it's a great track, Boyo, as usual. Like, love your style. And I think at this point you guys all know how I feel about rhythm and tear out, and your music does not make me want to rip out my hair, so that's a plus.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, to start off, yeah, Dino said it, but I'll say it again. Yeah, that clap in the beginning is like super painful. So just like watch out for like the harsh frequency areas, you know, like 3 to 8K ish kind of range, that whole thing. But other than that, I feel like everything was mixed really nicely. Um, I think the idea of a master track is really interesting because the things that you do in the mastering process aren't meant to be very like magnificent or large in the way that they change the track. But there's a lot of like little things you can do to a track to like bring out just like a little bit more stuff. But most of the time, the master and mix even kind of fall short of even the arrangement. So like I would say arrangement, if you have like an 80%, like the arrangement being good is like 80% of the process. So like if you have a great arrangement, the other 10 to 20% of the mixing, it obviously is what's going to help you stack up with other tracks, but in my opinion, it matters way less than the arrangement does. So like a perfect example is like the way you use this research. I have to find it. I can't find it, dude, but I know it's in there. I know it's in there, and I just want to say it sounded amazing. All right? Like my point is like the way you use certain instruments is what matters, not like the mix down and the mastering is important, but I would say, like I said, it's like 20%. So like, yeah, clip to zero. I saw Dino pointed out. If anyone doesn't know what clip to zero is when it comes to making music loud, highly recommend checking out the bathymetric stuff in that regard. But yeah, let me go over your questions. Luffs. I think the luffs are clean. I've been seeing Jade push like -3. Yeah, I guess there's like a teeny little bit of wiggle room. You could go louder, but like, I mean, it's not really like necessary. Yeah, I already went over the whole mastered thing versus mixed. I think that, like I said, it's like a percentage thing, right? Like you've already got the 80%. I agree with Dino, like the way that you are able to keep the beat and variation of the timbres of everything is like perfect. Like you did a great job with that. And yeah, when it comes down to the breaks in between stuff, I think the break is here. You know, I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that like second section. I also think, and this is an opinion, but I think it's just one of those things that goes really well on tracks like these that are like color rhythm, is some vocals. Some vocals on this I think would go crazy. Just like some like vibey, like singing energy could go hard. And yeah, dude, it's fire. It's fucking gas. You guys anything else to say, or shall we go on to the final person of the evening? There's one more.
Yes, there's one more, but before we get there, I just want to remind everyone that on Thursdays and Sundays nights at 9 o'clock Eastern, we have the Flock Flip. If you're trying to improve your production skills and compete with like-minded and other, I think, pretty skilled producers, like step up your game, step up to the Flock Flip, show up. It's a good time. We have anywhere from 5 to 15 to 20 producers in there on any given Thursday and Sunday. That's pretty fire. User submitted samples, sample mandatory usage. So show up, level up, get your flex in, get your reps in, and like and subscribe, all that shit.
Facts. Yeah, please visit, level up, get the reps in. Dino's flexing. All right, last up, we got balance. All right, I'm gonna pause it for now as the G himself has spoken. So I will not tarnish thine good name with this placeholder debauchery. Yeah, I'm gonna just start off by saying this is nuts. I am a huge fan of the entire vibe. Transitions, something that I am pretty confident in. The biggest thing is having it feel like there is this one continuous thread happening, but in the thread you just have this quick tension from like low volume to high volume. So like or maybe like low tension to or high tension to low tension, depending on how you look at it. But long story short, during this build up, let me find it here. See how there's silence? There's nothing wrong with that, but I think that if you had some kind of a reverse instrument of any kind, whether it's a reverse hi-hat, reverse crash, sweep, you name it, having something to continue that thread, because it's almost like the thread is cut, so we're kind of left listening to that delayed kind of kicky sound where you could just have like a crash right there and not even have those last little like hits happening right before this drop section. And then you could even have a reverse crash into the next section, but that's not even necessary. You could just crash right here, boom, like right there, and then just have it just decay out. And then as soon as it's decayed out, you have the drop. Yeah, so just some suggestions. Composition wise, does the main motif tie the different parts together? I think that this entire like midsection sounds great, like from a motif perspective. And I do think that the motif of the main drops sounds good. Like I didn't notice anything that was like sticking out. Um, oh, and yeah, when it comes to the bass, I think that it does a good job. Like now, I don't have a sub that I'm listening through. Like I'm listening through my headphones, but even listening through my headphones, I think it sounded pretty nice. There was one thing about the basses. So the little offbeat, like those kind of like sounds, I feel like there's some weird phasiness happening even in headphones. Like it just feels like there's something about this like low mid kind of, what is that, like 133 hertz area that just feels weird. Could be worth just experimenting with high passing the sides on it, or even just high passing it and putting a fundamental in there just to give it like a little bit more like presence. But yeah, and then the second drop, yeah, I noticed that it wasn't finished yet, but yeah, more of this, you know, more of that, but just some variation. One thing you could do is just add a different harmonic, like change the harmonic in this you know, thing to like a higher harmonic, and then you've got a whole drop. You know, like that's one of the easiest ways I think you could adjust this sound design to make it like flex in the second drop. Because I would say you should keep these sounds. I think these sounds are great. Just like, you know, spice them up a little bit. Fractal technique on God. Yeah, I'll leave it up to the gang members.
I don't know. I think you sent me this a while ago. I think we were talking like I don't know, a while ago, like maybe a month ago or some shit. And I liked it then. I still really like it now. So for the sub, it's well, just a couple good things. You nail the like Charles vibe every time. It's very minimalistic, and yet it's still like it doesn't feel like it's really lacking. The little like sine bells in the high end, the little plucks, especially in the like break that you did where it's just hitting the same note, but then you have chords under it. So it's like harmonizing with the chords even though it's just hitting the same note. I love that. Like that's a lot of people will just hit that same note in a break, but like to have the chords under it and have it kind of be harmonizing is like a whole other thing. And I think it just sounds so good every time. The sub, you can like something I've seen Lucid Slip do in like some of his older Mui stuff. I think I've heard it. He uses the sub as like fills sometimes. So you can do like some crazy pitch bend sub movement as a fill leading into the next bar. Just to like add a little bit of diversity. And then look at like inversions of like, say you have your pluck kind of outlining a chord on the top, you can have the sub, rather than hitting the root note, like have it maybe hit the third or like hop up to the fifth really quick and then hop back down to the root note. I mean, like if there's whole genres dedicated to just having the sub hit the root note, so there's certainly a place for it, but I really like when you can get like clean movement in a sub without it kind of taking away from the beat, because it's easy to overdo it, and you obviously haven't overdone it, but I think you could cook a little harder on like sub movement. Follow the bases instead. Yeah, there's times where it's like where you're hitting the wub consecutively. Let the sub follow that exactly. It'll contrast the sustains and sound nice. It sounds really good live too. Look at like listen to Darkness by Lucid Slip. I heard that on a big system, and the sub moves so fast and it sounds so good. Does the main motif tie the different parts together? Yeah, I think it does. Like I was saying with the pluck leading into the second drop, because and I forgot, you hit the same note with the pluck and then you bring it down into the arp, which was just very, very nice. And also I like the end. I know I've cooked on sound design like that in the very end. It's hard to get everything to sit right, and especially to like have other sounds existing in the same environment, because it's like some like crazy harmonic bass sounds, but it's still like kind of down tempo. I would keep cooking on that. If you really don't like it, then swap it out, but I think there's big potential there. It sounded really cool. But yeah, that's all I got. This is good.
We like dubstep around here. That being said, sub movement, yeah, a little bit of volume automation, just a little pulse with the sub itself. Just to kind of add that like in the notes I put sub web try volume automating. And then there's like a glassy type sound, like the highs towards the middle of the track, like before that beautiful melodic section, which by the way, perfect. But the highs are a little bit piercing, just a little bit. You could, and I feel like this is going to be another theme going forward, week to week. A little bit of soothe. A little bit of soothe goes a long way. Just because it's a little piercing on the high end. The snare is also kind of loud. And then you have like a triplet kick going on that I don't know if Magnet can find a place where the triplet kick hits. That's good. That's good. I don't know. At some places it feels like the triplet kicks don't feel right. When they lead into a snare like that, it feels really good. But I don't know. It stood out to me twice, and I was like, maybe address that. But in those instances, it leads into a snare, and that's a really nice way of doing it. At the the melodic chording in the second half, like the part that ties it all together, like the climax of the track, fantastic. You take like a really minimal sound and you open it up so nicely. And if you can try and like make a longer build into that, a longer transition, a longer, like not more tension, but like a longer tension, like a more subdued tension, something that like slow, because it's a huge climactic moment, right? Like you want to like really, you want to draw that anticipation for more. Boop, boop. That's what people are expecting, and they get this beautiful like layered harmonies and chords, and the sub changes pitch for the first time, I believe. Like it's really cool. It's really pleasant. It's really beautiful. If you could find a way to accentuate that a little more, I feel like this track could like push even harder. And it's already like real said it really good. You got that like that Charles vibe going on for sure. Second deep dub track of the night. Another great example of deeper music. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. Work on the snares a little, work on the high end a little. I know you said you haven't soothed it yet. Try soothing it, or even just find like if you can just cut out a little bit on just that snare, and then cut out a little bit like on just the high end, like find those resonant peaks. I don't know if you know how to do that. You just boost like a needle pinpoint and you sweep it, and wherever like it really hurts, that's what you need to cut. And that's all Sooth is doing. It's just doing it intelligently and automatically. You can still like sometimes like a little bit of like a piercing grating sound, especially with those like glass type of like movement sounds. It can be nice, but only every once in a while and only for a short second. We don't want to trigger people's tinnitus or give them tinnitus for that matter. But yeah, no, great tracking. I loved it. I'm looking forward to not seeing where this track goes, but seeing where the next track goes and the track after that. And then maybe you can come back and work. I'm a firm believer in reps. Get your reps in and then circle back on the older stuff. But great track, man. Great track.
Hell yeah. Well, yeah, thank you all for coming through, hanging out. We flexed. I think everybody here tonight did a great job. So, yeah, I look forward to seeing the growth. Do you guys have anything you want to say before we say goodbye? Bye-bye.
No, thanks for pulling up. I'm happy that we have this back going. I miss the community. I can't wait to continue watching these. I love just chilling and chat with y'all. And yeah, shout out like honestly Magduit and Dino for really working hard to get this thing moving on its feet. And I'm excited to see where we take it.
Yeah, Flock's still #1 production group. Just saying, highest skill cap, and a big part of that is because we're constantly working on music and we're constantly trying to do stuff. And I appreciate that about this community, and I can't wait to see the growth from all the different styles. I think we had like a really good representation of the various like bass niches. But yeah, no, that's all I got, man. It was good. Good night. Good
Yeah.
night.
Yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Once again, I'm gonna say it because Dino was kind enough to earlier. Come through Thursday, all right. Come through Sunday, and get a rep in. Become the G. All right. I'm looking at you, real.
I'm back on Sundays. I'm back. Oh, jeez.
I'm just messing with you. I'm messing with you. But no, for real. I feel like the flip is a really good way to get outside of your comfort zone, and nothing helps your creativity. In my opinion, nothing helps your creativity more than getting outside of your comfort zone. So yeah, with all that being said, thank you all and have a great evening.